Why is silence important? In a world that constantly encourages us to speak louder, faster, and more often, silence has become rare. Yet silence holds incredible power. It gives us space to think, to feel, to observe, and most importantly, to understand. Silence teaches patience. It prevents unnecessary conflicts and gives us control over our emotions. Sometimes, silence can deliver a stronger message than 1,000 words. It can create peace in chaos, strength in weakness, and clarity in confusion. This story explores how the power of silence changed not just one person, but an entire town. There was once a peaceful town, nestled between hills and streams, filled with colorful houses and friendly people. But over the years, things began to change. The town became loud, not just with sounds, but with arguments, gossip, and noise from people constantly trying to be heard. People spoke without listening. Disagreements turned into fights. Even the children mimicked the adults, shouting to win instead of understanding each other. One day, a stranger arrived in town. He was a middle-aged man with calm eyes and a quiet presence. He didn't speak much. He moved into a small, abandoned cottage on the edge of the forest. Every morning, he walked through the town, greeting people with a simple nod and a gentle smile. He bought his groceries, helped the old baker carry his bags, and gave water to thirsty animals, all without saying a word. At first, the townspeople were confused. Some found his silence strange, others thought he was unfriendly. "Why doesn't he talk?" they whispered. "Is he hiding something?" Rumors spread quickly, as they always did in that town. One evening, a group of curious townspeople approached him at the riverbank, where he often sat alone, watching the water flow. "Why, don't you ever speak?" a bold man asked. The stranger simply smiled and looked toward the water. "Words are like water," he finally said. "Sometimes they flow gently and help things grow, but when there's too much, they flood and destroy." His words, though, few struck a chord with everyone. For a moment, no one had anything to say. And in that silence, something shifted. Over the next few weeks, people began to observe the stranger more closely. He listened patiently when spoken to. He never interrupted. When people argued in front of him, he didn't take sides. He just remained calm. And strangely, his calmness seemed to calm others too. A young girl named Amira, known for being loud and impulsive, once came running to the stranger after a fight with her friend. She expected advice, comfort, maybe even a solution, but he simply sat beside her in silence. Minutes passed. The wind blew softly. Birds sang in the trees. Eventually, Amira's tears stopped. She looked at the stranger and whispered, "I think I was wrong." The stranger nodded. That silent moment taught her more than any lecture ever could. Soon the town began to change. People started listening more. They spoke less, but with more thought. Gossip faded. Arguments became discussions. The marketplace grew quieter, not because it was empty, but because it was peaceful. Children began playing quietly near the river, trying to copy the silent stranger. A teacher even started a silent hour in class, where students would reflect, read, or simply breathe. Months passed. The stranger had now become part of the town's heart, not through loud speeches or grand actions, but through quiet presence. One day, the mayor invited him to speak at the town festival. The crowd gathered, expecting a long speech, curious to hear more of his words. The stranger stepped onto the stage, looked around, and smiled. He said only this: "Sometimes the most powerful voice is the one that listens." And with that, he stepped down. The applause that followed was not loud, but it was full of meaning. Moral. Silence is not weakness. It is a quiet strength that allows us to hear not just others, but also ourselves. In a world full of noise, those who master silence often understand life more deeply.